ESPN Honolulu is Hawaii's sports leader. KKEA Honolulu, 1420 AM and 92.7 FM. Part of the IO family of companies.
For the head coaching job. The Bengals and Rams getting ready for Super Bowl 56. Steelers linebacker T.J. Watt says the Rams will have to be disciplined if they hope to get any sacks of Cincinnati quarterback Joe Burrow.
I think you just have to be very conscious in your rush lanes. It's so hard with all these mobile quarterbacks that you have to go man coverage to take away the receivers, but as soon as you only rush 4 guys, there's all those rush lanes to get them down. And like you said, once you get to him, you have to tackle either the football or his lower half because he will shiver you and get the first down.
T.J. Watt on NFL Live. Pac-12 battle in the top 10 right now on ESPN. 1 minute to play. 7th-ranked Arizona leads number 3 UCLA 74-63. In the NBA tonight, the Hawks and the Suns 11-game winning streak. The Hawks win it in Atlanta 124-115. 43 points for Trae Young. Timberwolves beat the Pistons 128-117. 25 for Anthony Edwards, 21-14 for Karl Anthony Towns.
Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max.
Hugh Jackson. Did you accept the money unknowingly, and how much was it?
Absolutely. It was a total of $750,000.
This and more, Friday, starting at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio.
Welcome to the Rivals Pregame Show on ESPN Honolulu. Brought to you by Rivals Sports Bar and Lounge. For every sport, for every game, for everyone. In the Waikiki Malia by Outrigger.
Good evening and welcome to the Rivals Pregame Show. Gary Dickman here on ESPN Honolulu. We're also on our Facebook page if you want to check me out there as well. We'll be on for the next 45 minutes or so and then send it over to Bobby Kern. Hawaii going up against UC Riverside in another critical game in Big West play. The Rainbow Warriors currently on a 7-game winning streak, 6-0 in the Big West. The San Diego game, as we all hopefully know by now, doesn't count in the standings this year. If Hawaii were to get a win tonight, it would be the longest winning streak in conference, 7-0 technically, officially, in over 43 years. That is saying a lot, so we'll hope for the best. We also will have a great interview coming up in about 12 minutes from now. Julian Sensley, one of the all-time greats to wear the green and white for the Rainbow Warriors. He'll join us, and we'll talk about his career, find out what he's up to these days. That is coming up a little bit later. I will give my H-Factor player of the game a little bit later. And, of course, we'll give you the Big West scoreboard. 4 of the games starting right now. So we might have some first half, maybe halftime scores before we wrap it up. We'll have some finals at halftime a little bit later. I do want to start, though, really recapping Saturday night, which was a night to remember for anybody that was either at the Stan Sheriff Center in Simplify Arena, watching on TV or listening to Bobby Curran on the broadcast. That was a game, again, I know I will remember for a long time. The comeback, the amazing comeback. When they were down 19-2, then 23-4, I didn't look it. I didn't have a lot of faith. I acknowledge that. I knew there was a lot of time left in the game, but Santa Barbara was basically doing anything they wanted, offensively and defensively, and Hawaii could not get on track for a while. And at the 11-minute mark, with 11 minutes left in the first half, Hawaii trailed 23-4. Over the next 7 minutes, they outscored the Gauchos from Santa Barbara 10-1. And they cut it down to a very manageable, at the time at least, 30-19 halftime deficit. And it was still double figures. They did get it down to, I believe, 8 a couple of times in the first half. Ended up being an 11-point deficit. And then Hawaii did what they have done many times in conference play this season. They had a really good start to the second half. Little by little, creeped back into the game, got key contributions from many players on this team, and came out with a really hard-fought 65-62 victory. And earlier that night, we were aware that Fullerton had already lost. In fact, they lost to tonight's opponent, UC Riverside. So Hawaii, which was in a tie with Fullerton for the last 3 or 4 games, now had a chance to be in first place by themselves, and they did not disappoint. That was just an amazing game every way you looked at it after the first 9-10 minutes of that first half. I look at defense as being one of the big keys for that comeback. They did such a good job. I mentioned the 10-1 run, where Santa Barbara overall shot 43% in the first half. But that was mainly in the first 9-10 minutes. Again, that stretch leading till halftime, they struggled big time. They only scored 3 points over the last 10.5 minutes of that first half. And in the second half, Santa Barbara was kept to a 33% shooting percentage. Hawaii's defense, I don't think, gets enough credit for what they have done this year. And every team, for the most part, that Hawaii plays has one big-time scorer. And it doesn't get much bigger than Amadou Sow, the preseason Conference Player of the Year, along with Colin Velp, depending on where you look, two of the best players coming back over the last several years in Velp and Sow. And Hawaii kept him in check. I mean, he did end up with 13 points, 13 rebounds, but he shot 5 of 19. Made him work really hard to get his shot off, both Bernardo da Silva and others helping. And Hawaii's defense, I think, was the big key. And then for a team like the Rainbow Warriors, who shot only 26% themselves in the first half, second half, 60%. You won't find many, if any, college basketball team that shoot 60% and a half. If you do, you're basically getting a non-conference game where you're playing somebody like a high major or a top 20 team against a low major. It almost never happens in a conference game. It just shows how strong this Hawaii team is. And I know I've mentioned a few times this week how this team has a lot of great qualities. One of them is their composure. They don't seem to get rattled. I always think, or at least very often, we'll look at a basketball team, especially on the college level, that they're a reflection of their head coach. And this team, just like head coach Eran Ganat, they are really calm. They don't let anything really get to them. And it hasn't been always the case, but I'm seeing it more and more this year. There have been games where they trailed. And, you know, in maybe December in the Diamond Head, they weren't able to overcome that. But at least they never quit in any game, which is very important. They held their own, have had runs, and have come back in games. They've done really well coming out for the beginning of second halves. And Saturday was another example of that. I just thought they just did a really good job with every aspect. I mentioned the defense, and I mentioned often this year the shot selection. They very rarely will force a shot. And sometimes when the shot clock's winding down, you force a shot. Sometimes when you think you're open and maybe before a double team comes at you, you'll force or rush a shot. This team almost never does that. Again, their shooting percentage for the game, 42.3. A little lower than normal for the most part. Still not that bad. But you look at 60% in the second half versus 25 or 26%, it was a great comeback. And many players contributed. I want to point out a bench player first who had his biggest contribution yet as a Rainbow Warrior, Amaro Lotto, who did miss the Diamond Head Classic. Him and Mate Chelina were out for health and safety protocol. He came back a couple of weeks later, still wasn't getting many minutes. On Saturday, he played 13 and a half minutes. 18 and a half, and did a really good job. He had 8 points, all of them in the second half, all of those 8 points in the last 8 minutes. Hit a couple of threes in a row, and hit another basket right after that, and was really key for Hawaii's comeback win. Whereas Santa Barbara, you know, they came back as well, where a couple of times with a minute or two left, looked like this game was Hawaii's to win. But Santa Barbara didn't quit in them, and they were the reigning champions of the Big West. They were the preseason favorite to win. They have struggled this year. They're only 1-3 in conference. So Hawaii got some space between them and the Gauchos. It was great to continue that winning streak. The biggest crowd of the year, 2,858. Timmy Chang, the football coach, in attendance. It was a special night. The Lion Dance for Chinese New Year. It was a night to remember. And it didn't always look like it was going to be a night to remember for the right reason, but it turned out to be that way. I'm going to point out another player, and he's another bench player who was key in this win, Jovan McClanahan. You know, and I look at some of the text messages and some of the calls we've gotten over the last month, and I can understand where some people are maybe doubting his contributions to this team. You know, he has started at times. Now he's coming off the bench, and he started for the most part, when Bernardo da Silva was out. They went with a 3-guard lineup. Bernardo da Silva comes back, and then you have Kamaka and Jerome DeRozier go to their more natural position, and you go with Madut and Noel Coleman in the backcourt. So McClanahan comes off the bench, doesn't sulk. He's actually been maybe more productive coming off the bench. And we talked with Eran Ganat after the game on Saturday, and he specifically pointed out his 8 points. He did have 3 rebounds. He also had 4 assists with only 1 turnover. And he's really steady at the end of games, a good ball handler and a good free throw shooter. I know a couple of fans have mentioned, why is he always in the game at the end? And at times, Kamaka Hepa has it. I think a couple of reasons. One, you want a steady ball handler, and I pointed out that's what McClanahan brings. Good free throw shooter. He doesn't make mistakes down the stretch. Junior Madut has been playing the point. Noel Coleman is at the 2. That's not Junior Madut's natural position. Still, with starting at the point, he is the Big West Player of the Week, averaging 8 points and about 8.5 rebounds a game. So he's done a very good job as well. But McClanahan coming off the bench has been key. I have mentioned several times where I think bench production is going to be a big factor for Hawaii's success in Big West play. Because, when you had Lotto out and Mate Chelina out, Bernardo da Silva came back. You didn't really have a lot on the bench. And the bench gets shortened in conference play for most teams, including Hawaii. But guys have stepped up. Amaro Lotto, I mentioned. McClanahan on the bench. Now Mate Chelina comes back, and he is adding little by little. Zord Ned has been a factor coming off the bench. He didn't play on Saturday, for I believe the first time this year. I love that this team had so many weapons. And if a guy like Noel Coleman, and I think the wrong word that I have used once or twice is struggling, it's not really that. It's really with the opponent's defense is keying on who was the leading scorer in the Big West, one of the best 3-point shooters in the conference. And he's still up there, but teams have doubled him. They've made it very difficult for Noel Coleman. So what happens? Other guys have stepped up, and it has worked out. Hopefully it will work out tonight against the Riverside team, which does present several challenges tonight. We'll get into that coming up in a little bit. In just a minute when we return, though, we're going to talk with Julian Sensley, who played for Hawaii from 2003 to 2006. It'll be fun talking about his career and a few very memorable games. You are listening to the Rivals Pregame Show, brought to you by Rivals Sports Bar and Lounge. For every sport, for every game, for everyone. And the Waikiki Malia by Outrigger.
I've got the pothole blues, it's the same old news. Every time I hit the streets, my car takes a beat. My alignment is off and my tires are shot. I need to find a way to lose these pothole blues.
It's okay to sing along, but you don't need to have the pothole blues. Lex Brody's Tire, Brake, and Service Company knows how to cheer you up. First, smiling and welcoming faces. Then, the best value on the island for your wheel alignments, tires, and brakes. Whether it's called our Lex Advantage or our Lex Appeal, we are your best value and choice for Michelin and Toyo tires and brake repairs. Wear your University of Hawaii logoed hat or shirt when you visit an Oahu Lex Brody's location and get an additional 5% off your purchase. Go to lexbrodys.com for more details and for our other Super Saver coupons. Thank you very much.
Catch all your postseason NFL action at Rivals Sports Bar and Lounge. At Rivals, they are doing their part to help get rid of Corona, so enjoy $4 Coronas and $4 Tullamore Irish Whiskey. Goes great with Waikiki's best wings and a slice of Waikiki pizza. As always, Rivals is following strict safety guidelines, so enjoy the NFL safely with friends, brews, shots, and great food at Rivals Waikiki on Kuhio in the Waikiki Malia by Outrigger.
In need of cash for home improvements, bill consolidation, tuition, or other expenses? Apply now for a cash-out refinance loan from Finance Factors. Mortgage rates are still low, so it's not too late to refinance your current loan to take cash out to finance other essentials. Finance Factors offers some of the lowest mortgage rates in Hawaii. Call 808-522-2000 or apply online at financefactors.com. Finance Factors, equal housing lender, NMLS number 449916.
When you feel like Vegas, there's just one place to stay. Grab a drink at the Holo Holo Bar. There's just one place to play. We got a fresh, hot look, a new sports book. We got those local meals, just like Auntie cooks. Aloha spoken here. find it every cloud.
Get back to Vegas with Vacations Hawaii. Airfare, hotel, meals, and transfers. Just $777.
Bro, what you doing now?
I'm doing my own PV system, and I get homie fall-proof gear.
Ano yung bubble wrap and duct tape going work?
Yeah, I get them. Check this out.
Okay. You okay?
I think that heat expanding stuff is true. Getting small kind of hot in here.
Oh, no.
Sweating over here. How many pop water stuff? Oh, careful.
Make sure to have an electrical contractor and licensed electrician do your photovoltaic installations and electrical work.
IBEW Local 1186, lighting your path to the future.
This is the Rivals Pregame Show on ESPN Honolulu.
Gary Dickman here with the Rivals Pregame Show on ESPN Honolulu. We are efforting to get Julian Sensley on the show, so hopefully we'll have him any minute now. Hawaii getting ready for UC Riverside. It is a later start if you saw an earlier schedule and wondering why it's not starting at 5 p.m. It did get moved to a 6 p.m. start. We'll have Bobby Curran come on about 5:50 tonight. I will talk to you guys at halftime and hopefully have some nice results for tonight. We'll also go over the rest of Big West Conference play as well. I know one game that I have my eyes on in Big West Conference play, we'll get the scoreboard a little bit later, is Irvine and Santa Barbara. Usually teams that battle at the top of the conference, not quite so this year. And if Santa Barbara loses, they would be, I believe, 1-4 or 1-5 in conference. So either way, teams are going to start beating each other up in Big West play. That is a good thing for Hawaii. Hopefully Hawaii won't be a part of that, except on the positive side of making other teams suffer another loss. Saturday, they'll be on the road for UC Davis, and that will be a 3 p.m. start. We'll have the Rivals pregame show at 2 p.m. here on ESPN Honolulu. These are two teams, by the way, in tonight's matchup that Hawaii was supposed to play much earlier. In fact, UC Davis, Saturday's opponent, was supposed to be the first Big West game back on December 30th, and that did not happen because of COVID protocols. Riverside was the opponent on New Year's Day, as Hawaii was about to be the only team in the country to play on Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. No Christmas Day game, no New Year's Day game, no makeup for those games. Thankfully, Hawaii hasn't had a game canceled since that opening week. Of course, they did lose a Fullerton game the following week. Fullerton will be in town next week. So a lot to look forward to as we are in February now after Hawaii has the undefeated month of January, undefeated in 2022, and 9 games left in the conference that count in the standings. As UC San Diego, the game that will play on the road on February 17th, they're still in that transition period, year 2 of the year 4 transition for San Diego. But things looking really good for Hawaii, and it will go a long way to see what their future looks like as we see not only how this week fares for them, but even next week. And I don't want to get too far ahead, but I will mention next week it'll be Long Beach State and Cal State Fullerton, 2 teams that are a game in back of Hawaii in the standing. So it'll be a tough battle there as well. And Long Beach State, really hot. They are the second hottest team in back of UH, where they haven't lost since Hawaii beat them way back on January 8th. They have won 5 in a row there. So we'll hope for the best tonight. And again, a UC Davis team that a lot of people picked to have a lot higher outcome as far as wins in Big West play as well. And I'm just going to mention one thing real quick with the Big West standings. We'll go over more specifically later. But going into tonight's action, there are 5 teams in the conference with only 1 win. Only 1 win for 5 teams, so a lot of separation there. I think another good thing for Hawaii, as we had John Montgomery on yesterday morning and Chris and I were filling in for Bobby, is that the day before they had 13 guys practicing. And he said it's been a long time since they've been that healthy to have 13 guys practicing. And so good news for Hawaii, and we're hoping to get Julian Sensley on, and we'll have Keegan call him up right now. He is ready to come on, so we'll talk to him in a few minutes, and then we'll go over UC Riverside and talk about some of the problems they have, or the challenges not the problem. Hopefully it won't be a problem for the University of Hawaii, but they definitely have a lot more size. So we'll hopefully get Julian hooked up here in just a second and talk about his outstanding career at the University of Hawaii and what some memories, and I know one specific game that I want to bring up, and we'll hopefully get him on and talk to him. And we thank all the former players that we've had on all season long talking about their great career. And Julian Sensley, a couple of buzzer beaters and a very historic win back in 2006 for that. So hopefully we'll get him and talk about his observations of this year's team as well. And Julian Sensley is joining us now in the Rivals Pregame Show. Julian, thank you so much for joining us. And I was just mentioning a little bit of your career at the University of Hawaii from 03 to 06. You kind of took the scenic route to get here after high school. Tell us about your road after being at Kalaheo High School to eventually returning and attending the University of Hawaii.
I mean, it was kind of a crazy one. As some people may know, I left Kalaheo after my junior year and went to a prep school back east. Kind of before prep school, I think, was I think prep schools were starting to really become a thing at that time. And then went to Cal, didn't work out at Cal, went to junior college in LA for a year. And, I just...
And I think we lost Julian there. Are you there, Julian?
Oh, I'm here. Can you guys? Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, we got you back there.
Yeah. All right.
What was it like playing for Riley Wallace? I know you played, and you played in a couple of historic games. One of them was, I believe, his 300th career win against number 4 Michigan State. That's the one of the many games that stand out. Tell us about that game first, and then about playing under Riley Wallace.
Oh, I mean, that game was, you're playing, I think they were ranked like number 4 at the time that year. It was my senior year. I think it was one of our first games of the season. So you just had that kind of electricity kind of going for you. It's always good. It was a sold-out crowd, and to be able to play in front of your home crowd and upset a team like that, is just something that you never forget, and it kind of goes back to when I think we beat, when Alika Smith and AC Carter were able to beat Kansas in the Rainbow Classic, kind of brought back a lot of those type of feelings.
Julian Sensley joining us here in the Rivals Pregame Show on ESPN Honolulu and our Facebook page as well. I'm going to bring up something. I doubt if you remember this, but I want to bring up something about the Michigan State game. It was the night before the game. You guys were practicing in Gym 2, and I was watching practice. And in the middle of practice, Riley Wallace stopped, and he pointed to the door and said, "That guy over there said you're going to lose by 25. That guy over there." And I turned around to see who he was talking about. I was the only person there, and he pointed at me. And I remember you during the next break said, "Did you really say that about us?" And I said, "No, I didn't say that. Riley exaggerated. I was talking with Bobby Curran earlier in the week, and I said, I don't think Hawaii's going to win. Michigan State's good." Riley Wallace turned it into something different, and he said that was a little motivation for him, but I'm not sure if you remember that moment. I felt very embarrassed because I was a big fan, of course, and I didn't really say that, but Riley used me maybe for that motivation.
Well, yeah, he was that kind of guy, He found any way to motivate us, even if it was, from kind of an unorthodox way. And you're not, whether you said it or not, you were one of probably the rest of the state that thought that. We were actually, in fact, the night before, or I think 2 nights, I was with Deontay Tatum, Jake Sotos, and I think one other ex-player. And, me and Deontay Tatum were the only ones actively playing that year. And this was like 2 nights before the game. And we're all in the car. I remember exactly. We were going to get some food, and Jake Sotos and I forgot who the other person was like, "I don't know, man. We want you guys to win, but we just don't see it happening." And it was this weird thing. It was one of those things you kind of you can feel it in your bones. And we just had, and I remember me and Deontay almost looking at each other with this certainty, like, no, I think we're gonna, because we were having great weeks of practice. People were healthy. We were it was a really good, in the 3 years that I had been there, that was probably the first time I really felt like, had we not had some major injuries and, things that happened with little Matt that were some personal issues he was dealing with at the time, I really think, we were a Sweet 16 type team. Definitely a team that could have won the WAC that year. So it's kind of unfortunate that, we had some which is part of sports, some injuries and stuff like that.
A very talented team. You and Matt Lejeski, I believe, both had 20 points, in that game, which says a lot. Do you get a feeling in a game like that, and you guys beat them convincingly in that game, do you get the feeling throughout the first half and even just throughout the game entirely that you really have them, that this is an afternoon game where you really can defeat this team? It wasn't just like an upset at the end where you hit a buzzer beater, where you did other times, but in that game, you guys basically led from start to finish.
I think it's one of those things that rarely happens in sports, and the guys like the Kobe's and the Tom Brady's and stuff, they have found a way to do it every single time. But there's this moment in sports, at least in team sports, that it doesn't happen too often where, I played on really good teams as a professional, and even like in high school, I was always on really good teams where you were just so talented that you could be down 15 or 20, and you kind of, at halftime, and you kind of look around like you still weren't really sweating it. You're like, we're going to pull it together and we're going to come out and win. And usually you do. But, obviously at UH, we've had some talented teams while I was there. But that day, and like I said, leading up to that game, it was like no one could miss. I mean, I was hitting shots that I usually wouldn't hit. And, but it was confidence. It was almost like everything was just, it's like being in a zone where you're not even in control anymore. Like you just knew where the next guy was going to be, who's going to make the next pass. And, I mean, I think it was something crazy. I don't know. I mean, you guys might have the numbers in front of you, but as a team, I think we shot something like crazy percentage. Like we didn't miss much.
Right. And I believe the score was 84-62, if I have it right. And you guys had a great shooting night in that game. Another couple of games I want to bring up, and one of them, I remember exactly where I was and what it looked like for me. But in 2003, on December 30th, you hit the three-pointer at the buzzer in the Rainbow Classic, as it was called then, to defeat Fairfield. What do you remember about that shot at the end of that game? I remember the crowd just going crazy.
That was kind of like my staple. Like I felt like that was like the I'm home. I'm home kind of thing for me, and for a personal thing, because of, what you kind of touched on, my journey to even get to you was kind of insane. And I remember that play actually wasn't even meant for me. It was for Michael Kubler. I was supposed to run a flare screen for Kubes, and they played the screen, and I was wide open. I didn't want the ball. I honestly didn't want the ball.
Wow.
And Chaim Shimonovich handed it off to me. And when he handed me the ball, I was like, I'm shooting this thing, and luckily it went in. But if you watch that highlight again, if anyone has it, like I'm jumping around like I couldn't believe it went in. But it was honestly, I remember I didn't let go of the game ball. I still have that game ball actually. I held it like a baby.
Does the University of Hawaii know that you have that game ball?
Probably not. I mean, I have a lot.
We won't tell them.
They don't know I have probably from my era. So as I'm sure a lot of other players.
Well, you definitely deserve it. And there was another, I guess, buzzer beater. This was, I think, with like 1 second left or 1.2 in 2006 versus San Jose State. You had another three-pointer to win that game. What do you remember about that game-winning shot?
Was that the one in San Jose?
Yeah, I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, that was a play that we actually would practice. It was like a screen-to-screener, and then it was kind of just like it was a setup for me. I think Alika was on the bench, and he was on that drew that play up for us, actually. But, yeah, I mean, that was actually designed for me to take that shot. And, I was actually – and if I remember, I think I only had like 15 points that game. I didn't have a very great shooting game. And so, it was just a good win to sneak. It's all, when you're from Hawaii, man, it's always hard to win on the road with the travel and everything.
Right. Julian Sensley joining us here in the Rivals Pregame Show on ESPN Honolulu and our Facebook page as well. You played here for those 3 years, as I mentioned. I think one of the interesting things as well, because you could score from down low, but you could shoot the three. You were inside-outside guy, but your shooting percentage was between 44 and 48%. That's tough for a guy who shoots a lot of outside jumpers to have a percentage that high.
Yeah, I mean, every day in practice, we were just getting a lot of shots up, I mean, it was just repetitive. And I think our offense under Riley was so designed for guards, that, you knew you were going to get the opportunity. I mean, the thing is, too, like, our offense was really designed for the shooting guard. Small forwards in that system and definitely big men were always second options. So whenever there were, we weren't like a high, we were a team that liked to, I wouldn't say we were as slow as like a Princeton offense, but like we were typically the team that like tried to run the ball, a lot, or pass the ball a lot, so we could get the best shot. So there weren't a whole lot of shot attempts. So you knew if I was going to get an attempt, I had to be confident in it. And, like we just put ourselves, the offense put us in good places to make open shots.
When you look back on your 3 years here, what did it mean playing under Riley Wallace?
Well, I mean, in Hawaii, he's a legend. I think, he's up there with the June Joneses, and if not longer, because not probably more recognized just because he had a longer tenure here. But he's a legend in Hawaii for basketball. And I will be the first to admit I didn't always like playing for him. It was tough. He had that very old school mentality, and he had no problem cursing you out, and but you look back on it, as you get older, and you can only respect that because he was always honest. He was always honest, and he told you how it was. And a lot of times I've been around the block, and a lot of times you get a lot of coaches telling you what you want to hear, and as in life, it's never the best thing for the individual. So playing for Riley was honestly an honor, and I was just happy that I got to be part of a program, especially being from Hawaii, that was, and playing for somebody like Riley.
The last time I saw you was pre-COVID. I believe it was at the NCAA Summer League. I believe it was at St. Francis School that year. Yeah. And I remember watching you play, of course, but I remember your son. I forget how old he was, but he was very young, very tall, and you could see the skill set on him.
Now he's a top 10 player in the country for his class. He's 15 years old. He's at a school called Prolific Prep in the Bay Area. Or in Napa, actually, but I think they're ranked number 1 in the country in prep schools right now. I actually just saw him play last week, and I tell you, I think his team could have beat our UH team. I mean, they're so big.
Wow.
And loaded. I mean, talented, grown-looking men on that team. But, he's like a 6'8" guard. My son is taller than me, actually, and a little bit more skilled than I was. So he's got a bright future ahead of him. I know a lot of colleges are already kind of interested in him and whatnot. So
he's getting offers already?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, there's some solid ones out there already,
Well, I guess you're happy he's getting the offers, but you're also happy that there's a thing right now called the NIL that exists. I'm sure he's probably happier.
Oh, gosh. I wish there was a NIL when I was around.
Right.
But then again, I may not have came to Hawaii.
Right. That's true.
No. Yeah. I mean, I think, that's a whole probably another conversation, but I like the whole idea of it. I think it's these universities make so much money off the student athlete, and I think it's nice that they're allowing these kids to, people think that just because you're on scholarship that, I was starving, and I got to live off campus and keep my scholarship check, but that was to eat and survive. It wasn't like I was making a whole lot of money off of it. So I think being able to pay college kids college kids are able to make money off the NILs. I think that's great.
Right. I think it's long overdue, but better late than never. Well, hopefully we'll see him on the college scene sometime soon. Hopefully we'll get to see you again sometime soon as well. Julian, thanks for talking with us today on the Rivals Pregame Show. We appreciate it. Let's keep in touch.
Yes, thank you. You guys have a good one.
You too. Thank you so much. Julian Sensley joining us here on the Rivals Pregame Show on ESPN Honolulu and Facebook Live. Yeah, watch out for his son, 6'8" guard, and we'll see him in college sometime soon. But for Julian, so many great memories. We're going to take a break, come back, talk a little bit about UC Riverside, the Highlanders, and some of their key players for tonight. Coming up next here on ESPN Honolulu.
Here's a team physician tip from Dr. Jay Marumoto.
The majority of meniscus tears in athletes over 30 can do better without surgery if properly diagnosed and treated by the highly skilled sports doctors at Orthopedic Associates.
Dr. Jay Marumoto is the University of Hawaii's most senior team surgeon. For the most advanced sports injury care, contact Orthopedic Associates at 536-2261 or go to oahawaii.com. Orthopedic Associates, Hawaii's team physicians.
Catch all your postseason NFL action at Rivals Sports Bar and Lounge. At Rivals, they are doing their part to help get rid of Corona, so enjoy $4 Coronas and $4 Tullamore Irish Whiskey. Goes great with Waikiki's best wings and a slice of Waikiki pizza. As always, Rivals is following strict safety guidelines, so enjoy the NFL safely with friends, brews, shots, and great food at Rivals Waikiki on Kuhio in the Waikiki Malia by Outrigger.
Small businesses who switch to Spectrum Business can cut their internet and phone bill in half.
Spectrum Business can cut my bill in half. Really?
It's true. You're overpaying and we can prove it. Grab your bill and visit spectrum.com/business calculator. In just 3 easy steps, you'll see your savings.
Wow, I can save over $1,500 a year.
That's real savings. See for yourself. Visit spectrum.com/business calculator and make the switch today. Restrictions apply.
Hardware Hawaii. Customer first in Kailua.
Hi, this is Eddie. I'm the lead lumber for Hardware Hawaii in Kailua. I like helping customers find what they need. It's not like another stranger just shopping here. My customers are like my friends, and then I just help them all, and I feel good. And it just makes my day. We're out here in the lumberyard ready to serve you.
Hardware Hawaii. Customer first in Kailua.
2 is better than 1, especially when it comes to cashback rewards. That's why at Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union, we're doubling what you earn on all your restaurant and transportation purchases the entire month of February when you use your Life Matters Cashback Visa credit card. And don't forget, you'll always earn 1% cash back on all your other purchases too. To learn more or apply, visit hawaiiusafcu.com/double cashback. Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union. Life matters. Insured by NCUA and Equal Housing Lender.
Aloha business owners, controllers, and CFOs. Did you contract with an HR company only to be taken for granted? They promise to give you the lowest possible rates from healthcare to workers' comp, employment taxes. But do you really have the rates you deserve? In these lean times, every dime matters.
Maybe it's time for a change. Makai HR is built for Hawaii small businesses, giving them a superior HR experience at prices they can afford.
For a free HR consult, call 451-0000 or visit makaihr.com/value.
This is the Rivals Pregame Show on ESPN Honolulu.
Gary Dickman back with the Rivals Pregame Show. We are less than 30 minutes away from tip-off. We'll send it over to Bobby Kern in a little less than 20 minutes. And let's talk a little bit about the UC Riverside Highlanders. They come into tonight's action with an 11-7 record overall, 4-3 in conference. Last Saturday, they defeated previously undefeated in conference Cal State Fullerton. That was a big win for them. 2 days ago, they played UC Davis and lost. That was a little bit of a surprise, and they lost by double figures in that game at home, even more surprising. So 4-3 right now, and they are a game and 2.5 games in back of Hawaii in the standings. So hopefully Hawaii can get even more separation from a team that would technically be in fourth place. And one of the things, when I'll get to the standings in a few minutes, how Hawaii is getting more and more space, and it's not where everybody's bunched together like a typical year, which for a first place team like Hawaii is even better. They've got some challenges that they'll present to Hawaii, and one of them is their size. Look at their backcourt. Their 2 guards, Zion Pullen is their point guard. He averages 4.1 assists, 12.9 points. He's 6'4". Their other backcourt player, Flynn Cameron, 6'5" guard, averages 10.9 points a game. So 6'4", 6'5" in the backcourt. Their wing is J.P. Mormon II, who averages 11.1 and 5.6 rebounds. You also have another guy who's a forward who is, let me get his name, Dominic Pickett. He has played in 15 games. He is averaging close to double figures. And last but not least, they've got a 7'1" center. 7'1", 295. And he did not play last year. I'm not sure if he opted out due to COVID, but he's back, and he's a force. Colin McRae, 8.8 points, 8.1 rebound. Pretty good player, and he's got the size, and I think that's going to present a challenge to Hawaii. They're a good rebounding team. They're a very good defensive team, and I think those are some of the keys for tonight as well, where Hawaii, as an example, they shoot 46% from the field, one of the top teams in the Big West. UC Riverside holds teams to 41.8, almost 42%, one of the best defenses in the conference, and on three-point field goals, Riverside is number 1, holding opponents to 26.6%. That is incredible. Hawaii, the best three-point shooting team at 37%. Something's got to give there. And I think Hawaii's got to learn or need to be patient with their three-pointers tonight, and they've done that of late. There were games like, back in December, they would shoot 30 around 33 points, a little less, a little more. Last couple of games, it's been really a lower number. And on Saturday night, it was only 23. You know, they're not going to force them going back to shot selection and being patient on offense. That's going to be a key tonight. So you look at Riverside, they're also holding opponent 59.7 points a game, where Hawaii is scoring about 73 a game. So it's going to be again, something's got to give there, too. One of the better defenses in the conference against one of the better offenses in the country. By the way, Hawaii has held team to 65.5. So it's going to be a good game. Riverside is tough, but I'm looking at their last two games again, where they beat Fullerton, which was an eye-opener for a lot of schools in the conference. But then you lose to Davis, a team that only got their second win the other night in conference play. I'm wondering which Riverside team will show up. Both of them were home games for Riverside. But Hawaii, with the 7-game winning streak, some momentum, some confidence. They're 3-0 on the road in conference. I'm hoping things will bode well for tonight's game for Hawaii going up against Riverside. A couple of other notes for Riverside. They averaging 38 rebounds a game, which is one of the top teams in the conference as well. And on their own end, they're not shooting the three-pointer very much, which we've seen with other teams. A little over a week ago, we had Cal Poly here, a team that really slowed the game down. It didn't score a lot, defended pretty well. For Riverside, you look at their three-point shooting. As I mentioned, on defense, it's under 30. Well, they're shooting less than 30 themselves at 29.6. Not a very good three-point shooting team. So hopefully Hawaii's defense can keep it around that number, and I think things will work out well for the University of Hawaii. We're going to come back in just a minute. I will give my H-Factor player of the game, and I'll give you a hint right now. It's not going to be a starter, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. We'll also give you some Big West scores and the Big West updated standings as well. You're listening to the Rivals Pregame Show, brought to you by Rivals Sports Bar and Lounge. For every sport, for every game, for everyone in the Waikiki Malia by Outrigger.
Meadow Gold Dairies Hawaii is honored to support University of Hawaii as their official milk partner, nourishing and fueling UH athletics with chocolate milk, white milk, orange juice, and POG. Meadow Gold is proud to provide families in Hawaii with the best dairy, juice, and ice cream products for over 124 years. As our University of Hawaii continues their quest to win and become champions, we celebrate their success. Go Bows!
Catch all your postseason NFL action at Rivals Sports Bar and Lounge. At Rivals, they are doing their part to help get rid of Corona, so enjoy $4 Coronas and $4 Tullamore Irish Whiskey. Goes great with Waikiki's best wings and a slice of Waikiki pizza. As always, Rivals is following strict safety guidelines, so enjoy the NFL safely with friends, brews, shots, and great food at Rivals Waikiki on Kuhio in the Waikiki Malia by Outrigger.
When we talk about reimagining healthcare at Hawaii Pacific Health, we're really talking about you. Because making it easier for you to be healthier is what it's all about. With video visits to see your doctor from anywhere. With virtual urgent care. With more clinics near where you live and work. And with a personalized approach that focuses on prevention. We're reimagining healthcare for you. Visit hawaiipacifichealth.org/telehealth.
Here's something new from Paxa, Hawaii's premier technology provider. HPE Electra powers your data from edge to cloud. The HPE data infrastructure is AI-driven, built for cloud, and delivered as a service. The solution provides fast, consistent performance and 99.9999% guaranteed availability. To learn more and to schedule a demo with Paxa, Hawaii's HPE Gold partner, go to paxa.com/Electra. That's paxa.com/ALLETRA.
Not sure what to do with that car or truck of yours that you're not using anymore? Hey, skip the hassles of selling it to a stranger because it's faster, easier, safer, and more convenient to donate your car to Kidney Cars. Plus, you'll get that great tax deduction too. Your Kidney Cars donation is going to help the National Kidney Foundation of Hawaii to prevent kidney disease and treat diabetes. So go ahead, donate your kidney car online today at kidneyhi.org. That's kidneyhi.org.
When you feel like Vegas, there's just one place to stay. Grab a drink at the Holo Holo Bar. There's just one place to play. We got a fresh, hot look, a new sports book. We got those local meals, just like Auntie Cook's. Aloha Sports.
Get back to Vegas with Vacations Hawaii. Airfare, hotel, meals, and transfers, just $777.
This is the Rivals Pregame Show on ESPN Honolulu.
Dickman back here. We'll send it over to Bobby in just a few minutes, getting ready for UC Riverside and Hawaii, tipping off just after 6 o'clock. Right now, I'm going to give my H-factor player of the game, the player I think will be key for Hawaii to get this win tonight. And I said a minute ago it's going to be a bench player. I'm going with Mate Chelina. And the main reason or reasons are this. I mentioned Riverside and their height. McCray at 7'1". You've got 6'7", 6'5", 6'4", 6'4". Rebounds are going to be key tonight. And I know Bernardo da Silva is going to be a big factor in that, in what he typically does. But Mate hopefully getting more minutes in his third game back from being out for 6 weeks under COVID protocol, I think is going to be really important with the minutes he puts in and the rebounds he puts up. And it's not only him. Other players will have to step up. Hawaii's got to limit the offensive rebounds for Riverside. As an example, on Saturday night, Santa Barbara had 11 offensive rebounds. Few too many that you'd want to let up. However, Hawaii only let up 3 second chance points. That was key for the win as well. They weren't able to capitalize, Santa Barbara, on those offensive rebounds. But you do want to keep it in single digits if possible. And I think that's key for Hawaii, which makes Mate Chelina coming off the bench really key as well. Don't give them too many easy baskets, offensive rebounds, and second chance opportunities. So I'm going to go with Mate Chelina tonight. Right now, let's go around the Big West, and I'll give you some updated scores here. At halftime, in a game that won't count in the standing, UC San Diego beating CSUN 37-27. That is at CSUN, and it is halftime. Games in progress in the first half. CSU Bakersfield now trailing Long Beach State. They were up by a few a minute ago, now down 27-26. Long Beach State, 5-game winning streak, 4:16 left in the half at the Pyramid in Long Beach State. We'll give you a final at halftime on that. UC Irvine, as I mentioned, at Santa Barbara. Irvine up by 12, 29-17, 3:54 left in the first half. A little surprising, not at that game, but Santa Barbara just really struggling. Where Irvine struggled early on, they were 1-3. They have now won 2 games in a row, and they're starting to right their ship, getting back into the conference race. I'm not sure if it's too late for them to get back into first or second. And another game that we have our eyes on, I'm hoping it'll stay like this, but it's still early. With 1:48 left in the first half, Cal Poly, the worst team in the conference to many, and the standings show it, they are leading Cal State Fullerton 24-19. And again, 1:48 left in the first half. Cal Poly with that lead. Now, when I go over the Big West standings right now, Hawaii, of course, in first place at 6-0. Fullerton and Long Beach State tied for second at 5-1. Riverside now at 4-3 in the standings. Irvine at 3-3. Davis with the win on Tuesday is 2-3. Santa Barbara at 1-3. CSU Bakersfield 1-4. Cal Poly at 1-5. CSUN actually in last place with a 1-6 mark. So hopefully Hawaii can get more separation, and we'll keep our eyes on the scores with both Fullerton and Long Beach State. We'll give you a complete wrap-up of the scores at halftime, and I'll give you stats as well. We're going to take a break, and when we return, you will hear Bobby Curran giving us the starting lineups, getting ready for tip-off. Hawaii on the road against UC Riverside on ESPN Honolulu.
Catch all your postseason NFL action at Rivals Sports Bar and Lounge. At Rivals, they are doing their part to help get rid of Corona, so enjoy $4 Coronas and $4 Tullamore Irish Whiskey. Goes great with Waikiki's best wings and a slice of Waikiki pizza. As always, Rivals is following strict safety guidelines, so enjoy the NFL safely with friends, brews, shots, and great food at Rivals Waikiki on Kuhio in the Waikiki Malia by Outrigger.